Hello students, welcome to Basic Color Theory. This is a unit that I was going to teach anyway after our t-shirt unit, and since we can't cut the vinyl at this point because we're not at school, I decided that I would bring it forth anyway. So our first project is going to be about the color wheel, and this is Basic Color Theory. Now, the first thing you need to know about color is probably something that you already know. Color is something that we deal with every day, whether it's the color of our hair, the color of what we wear, the brightness of the sky, the darkness of the sky. We deal with color and tints and shades of color all the time. So we already sort of understand what those things are, that bright colors tend to want to make us happy and are rainbowy colors, whereas dark colors tend to be colors that are more moody or expressive, sometimes depressing. Anyway, the graphic designer and the artist knows how to work with the colors and to change them to bring out a message that they're trying to communicate. Now, the very first thing you need to know about color is additive and subtractive. This may make common sense to some people, and to other people it might be a little confusing, but think about a window. When you look through the window, it's transparent. That's what an additive color is. You're adding color on top of another color, and they're all transparent, so that when they overlap each other, they create new colors. The center of all of those overlapped colors is always going to be white, because white is the presence of all color. So white itself is not a color, but that's adding color together. Okay, subtractive means subtracting color. And typically subtractive color is when you overlap colors that are completely opaque, such as, let's say, cardboard or construction paper or oil paint. You can't see through it, so when you overlap two colors, the color on the bottom is being subtracted from the color on the top. Pretty simple stuff, additive and subtractive color. Now, there are several qualities of color, and the qualities describe how colors are mixed. They give meaning to color, and those qualities of the color are hue, value, saturation, and temperature. Hue is just simply another name for the word color. So if I say something is a dark hue, that typically means that it is a dark color. So it's no more complicated than that. If you have a combination of two hues, let's say a plum that's sort of bluish red, then whatever color is the dominant one is usually the first name that we give it. So we would say bluish red as opposed to reddish blue. It just depends on which color is dominant. There's some other terms that we use to describe color: achromatic, monochromatic, and polychromatic. We've already talked about hue, so achromatic would be is without hue, without color. It contains only black, white, or gray. Remember I said black and white are not colors. Combined, they can make gray, but achromatic means no color. Monochromatic, mono meaning one, means one color, which can be a bright color or a dark color. Polychromatic means that it has many hues or many colors, thus the word poly. So if you can remember achromatic, monochromatic, polychromatic, you'll be fine. The value of a color has to do with its luminosity, brightness, or darkness. And put simply, if you take a base color, let's say this green that I'm pointing at with my cursor, and you add white to it, which is achromatic, you're going to get a lighter version of that color, and that would be called a tint, T-I-N-T. If you take the base color and you add black to it, then you're going to have a shade of that color. So The reason that we call this color theory is because all of these greens are green without a doubt. But if I ask you what you're thinking of when you're thinking of a color green, you might think of this dark color. I might be thinking of this lighter one, and someone else might be thinking of this green, yet they're all green. So it can only be a theory because there really is no formula to tell me exactly what green is. If you can remember that the value of a color has to do with how light or dark it is, that's what we're talking about in this case. Now, saturation refers to the brightness or dullness of a color. If you take the color, let's say pink, and you think of, let's say, a watermelon or a peach, that's pink, but it's kind of a dull pink. It's not very saturated. But if you think of bright pink or hot pink, then all of a sudden it's a color that really pops. And so that's a highly saturated color. The dull color is not saturated. If you mix black, white, or gray with the color, it's going to darken it or lighten it to the point where the saturation is taken out of it. So it's not going to be a very saturated color. This can often be referred to as the tone of a color, but mostly I'm going to refer to it as saturation. Now, temperature, this is something we talked about in basic photography. You may remember that the cooler colors, being on the blue side, are more like LED lights, daylight, whereas the warm colors are more like tungsten lighting or yellow lights. They're warmer colors. So we think of warm as red, orange, yellow, and cool as being purple, blue, or green. Those are things that I pretty much think we've known since we were kids. Now, the color wheel is going to be the assignment that we start with first in our color theory unit. The color wheel is basically a wheel with 12 colors. It can have many more than 12 colors if you divide it, but its base is 12 colors, just like 12 numbers on an analog clock. And there are color units within the color wheel that go well together and some that don't. If you take the colors that do go well together, those are harmonic colors, and then the colors that don't go well together are non-harmonic. In fact, they could be vibrating type colors. And other things that we're going to talk about in the future regarding colors are colors such as complementary colors, analogous colors, and triadic colors. That is our basic color theory. So your first assignment, which I'm going to list separately, will be a color wheel. Thank you for listening. Bye.